People, I'm gonna look really stupid. Probably more than once in this video, if we're totally honest. But before we get to that, I got to the Soul Master. It's not a tough fight, at least this version of him. As soon as I finish fighting him, I'm gonna go straight to the Dream version, the Soul Tyrant. That's where I'm gonna start looking silly for the first time, just in terms of not being able to keep this guy, at least quickly. It's really down here in this area that he starts making me look extra stupid, just because I seem to have a hard time wrapping my brain around paying attention to where he is, all the projectiles that get thrown at me. And that happens in a lot of fights. Like, you'll see, if not already, you'll see going forward, that I have a really hard time when it comes to flying enemies and projectiles, at least when there's multiples of them in one fight, where I'm just having a really hard time keeping track of where they all are. I die a few times, even before I get down to there, just fighting the Tyrant version. I think this is, what, 3 or 4 times now? Maybe we'll get to 5? Yeah, we're gonna get to at least 5 deaths before I beat the Tyrant version. Soul Master, easy. First or second try, I think it was. No, Soul Master was first try. Soul Tyrant fed me my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I finally beat him. I was able to go see the seer with the amount of essence that I'd built up. Got a pale ore, got my nails sharpened. When it comes to a lot of stuff regarding like the seer and some of the dreams and stuff, like the door that you get opened up once you get a certain amount of essence, some of that I'm just not going to show because I don't necessarily feel it's particularly relevant to the final goal of this series, which is just beating Hollow Knight. That's lore content. If you're not already into this game, then I don't necessarily think it's particularly necessary to see that right away. And if you are already into this game, I'm sure you've already seen it, so what's the point in showing it again? It's just kind of a lot of dialogue at that point. I find the Colosseum, I go ahead and do the first trial of the Colosseum. I beat it first try. I was, you see Zote underneath where the bench is, and I didn't necessarily think I would be fighting him right at the first trial. And I honestly thought when he did pop out that he would give me a fight, and that just was not the case. He just was really a pushover in that fight, which, considering what his character is, I didn't necessarily mind so much. It was a little bit of a swerve in that regard, and just considering how just weirdly cocky he is, and sure of himself, it's like almost like it's a false fight at that point. But yeah, I beat the first trial. I tried the second one. I was having trouble, so I decided to leave. Come back later. I don't know if I'll show it in the series, but I will go back once I beat the game. Got to the Broken Vessel, beat the normal version, this normal one first try. It's not a really hard fight, but just like with the Tyrant, I come back and try to do the Dream version. Again, these Dream versions are so much harder, I find. Especially, you see there's extra flying characters about, so like I just mentioned, I have a hard time keeping track with him and the projectiles he throws and the flying fire essence, or not essence, but whatever they are, little guys that he throws at you. That death was particularly stupid because I just mistimed my up slash. But eventually, I will get past him. It's a good fight. It's easier, I think, than the Soul Tyrant, just because it is one. It's not like a two-phase. You don't go down in the ground and all of a sudden he has a slightly different move set or anything. I just sent all my Geo to the Shadow Realm because I thought that fountain was going to do something for me. And I walked out of there with zero Geo and zero idea what that fountain actually does. So that wasn't particularly great. Because after that, I finally decided to go for the first of the 3 Dreamers. You have to fight these Watchers. The only real nuisance in this fight is that there's like 6 of them, and so you're fighting 2 at a time for the most part. It's not too bad. They're just a little spongy. It's totally fine. This is kind of the second time, aside from that fountain, that I'm going to look stupid, because in the last video, I said I was going to get to at least one of the Dreamers and do the boss fight. And as you'll see, or if you already know, there isn't a fight. I thought there was a fight. There's no fight. Which I don't necessarily know how to feel, because I thought there's going to be this big climax for all 3 of them, you know, the big 3 boss fights. But no, I came up here to the Watcher Tower first and got to Lurien. I was really expecting something here to happen. I was so confused as to why I wasn't getting attacked or anything regarding this. But once that happened, I was like, oh, none of these are going to be boss fights? Yeah, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to get to them in the first place, but they're not actual boss fights? I was really surprised, and I don't remember that being the case at all from after my first playthrough. Again, that was 4 years ago, so, you know, not necessarily surprising that I don't remember, but definitely came as a little bit of a shock to me, just because I came in with my assumptions and how I am used to games sort of going. But you break that first seal, and then now the Forgotten Crossroads are going to become, what do they call it? It's not infected. No, it is infected. It's Infected Crossroads. Once I was done with that, I did a lot more exploring in the Royal Waterways. Cornifer, to me, was impossible to find in the waterways. I beat the Dung Defender. Gives me huge Larry the Lobster vibes. I don't know if that's just me, but he gives me enormous Larry the Lobster vibes. Got Isma's tier, so now I'm able to get to certain areas, specifically in like in the Queen's Gardens later on, and then Royal Waterways become a bit easier to travel through now that you don't have to worry about falling in the water or anything like that. I think this is called the Fluke Worm. It's not a hard fight. I wish I don't know if I have the Sharp Shade yet. If I did, this would have been a lot easier, because I would have just been able to kind of dash back and forth on that fight while still hitting him. But yeah, I didn't have the... No, I hadn't been down to the Abyss yet, so I didn't have that ability quite just yet. But once I do that, I very quickly get to the second of the 3 Dreamers. Because of my assumption thinking that they were going to be these huge boss fights, I did not expect that I was going to get to 2 of these in just this one video. So making a lot more progress than I originally thought, which is honestly, you know, given the time constraints, considering Silksong coming out this week, I thought it was going to take me a lot longer to get this far. But get down here to Hera the Beast, break that seal. You know, it's... The one thing I will say, at least for Hera, is that I didn't expect to get trapped by all those people in the room once you sit on the bench. You know, that was something that once it happened, I did remember happening in my first playthrough. But until it did, I just kind of forgot that that was the case. Just thought that maybe they were followers of Hera that were still sort of there watching over her. And I guess maybe in a sense they were protecting Hera, but eventually got to her, was able to break that seal, and now there's 2 out of 3 that are completely done. Finally, one of the more interesting boss fights to finish out this episode is Nosk. I think finding Nosk is one of the most satisfying parts of this entire playthrough. You find like a little mimic or clone of yourself in the Deep Nest, and is just a really interesting way to trigger your curiosity. Like, considering this game, you know it's not going to be anything good, but your curiosity gets the better of you, and you're like, oh, I need to follow this mimic of myself, of the night, and see where it leads. And it leads you to Nosk, which, in terms of design, I think is one of the coolest character designs in the entire game. Turning the knight's mask upside down to make it look like fangs instead of horns, I think was super cool. To beat Nosk after a couple of tries, it's really easy to cheese because you just kind of sit in one of those corners, and as Nosk runs over, they don't hit you. So you can just kind of slash up as they go over you, and it's not too bad of a fight. That's where this part leaves off. Part 4 is going to be the last part to this. I'm going to beat Hollow Knight in part 4. Like the video, subscribe if you enjoyed it so far. Hopefully I'm getting better at this. It's going to take time, but that's the process of trying something new. I appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.